Today we have with us someone who has been working on women and gender for nearly 30 years. We have with us Susan Ferguson, UN Women Country Representative, on this Women's Day special conversation. Thank you so much, Susan, for joining us today and giving us your time and speaking on this very, very critical issue to celebrate Women's Day.
Thank you so much for having me, Banega. It's a pleasure to be here.
Susan, the first thing what I would like to ask you is, tell us about the theme this year when we're talking about celebrating Women's Day. Well, every day, it is a celebration every day. We should celebrate women every day. But if I specifically ask you about 8th of March.
Thank you for the question. So 8th of March, I mean, you're absolutely right. Women should be celebrated every day. But this is really a special time of the year where we specifically focus on the contribution that women make to everyone's lives. And the home and also in the public sphere. And this year there is this theme about, gender equality within the context of sustainable development. So it's such an important issue for us to look at and to look at the connections with women's empowerment as well.
You know, when we talk about sustainability, tell us what, especially since we're talking about the theme this year, what is the impact of climate change on women and why gender equality is important for a sustainable tomorrow for each one of us?
Okay, well, as everything, climate change has a specific impact on women and men, girls and boys differently. And that's because in many places in the world, in fact, every place in the world, women and men's lives are often quite different. So it has a differential impact. And if we look at the impact of climate change, a drier world, for example, means that on a very practical level, women are really badly affected because in many parts of the world, they still have to collect water for the family. So it means they need to walk much further to get to water holes. They need to walk further to find fuel sources if they're using trees, for example, that may have been cut down. So this means they have less time for, earning a living or looking after their households. So that's an example of actually very practical impact on women's lives of climate change.
So huge impact on women, climate change and frequent disasters, like whether it's floods displacing lives, livelihoods, do have a greater impact on women in the form of early marriages, trafficking, disruption of education and health. We do see a lot of girls dropping out of school, when they start menstruation. I mean, we do see that gender disparity. Women are also largely employed in agricultural sector, and as when there are crop failures, as unviable agricultural practices, all this impacts them in some way or the other. What is the way forward? How can we center stage women in when we talk about climate change?
Well, I think you've just given a really good rundown of how climate change impacts on women's lives. And just before getting to the specifics of your question, also, women are often poorer than men, for example. So climate change impacts worse on them because they're already further behind. So, I think it's very, very important for women to have a say in a climate response. So, women in decision-making is absolutely crucial, both within their families, so they can be involved in discussions with their husbands and their family members, their communities, about what to do to adapt to climate change, for example. Because if they're not involved and they're not sitting at the decision-making table, even at that level, the solutions that people are coming up with are not necessarily going to meet their needs. So women in decision-making is really crucial, and that involves, of course, some changes around social norms for women in families and communities, what I often call family governance. But then also the changes need to occur in the public domain. So again, women in decision-making in parliaments and in judiciary and in business is really crucial to make sure that planning and mitigation and adaptation includes the needs of women and men. So I think that women in decision-making is really crucial. But I think we also have to invest in women's interests, so as ideas are coming up that are either solutions that impact well on women, we need to then invest in them. We need to find people who will invest ideas and money and resources to make some of these ideas a reality.
Yes.
And I think importantly, and this is so clear around the world actually, investing in young women is so crucial because, you know, it's this young generation that are often the really incredible change makers in this kind of issue.
I mean, I think you've really put that well, that it really starts from decision making and right from the early age, because, you know, they may have the solution sometimes, which we, you know, tend to overlook. But, you know, looking at the positive side, Susan, globally, we see that women today are breaking all stereotypes, in fact, gender biases. How can we really create an equal society? Because we see a lot of male dominated professions, which women are doing really well.
Yes. Well, you're right. I think that there's been amazing movement over the last sort of decades, really. We can see enormous changes on gender equality around the world, and India included. So I think that there are some very basic things we can all do around gender equality and you know, bringing forward equality for all, because there are still women still lag in some of the statistics. And some of those things are very practical, again, like sharing the care work at home, you know, men and women sharing the care of the children and the elderly and the sick, because care work is a huge inhibitor of women's ability to look outside the domestic sphere. And also on that note, you know, sharing the household chores.
Yes.
And interestingly, you know, there was a study a while ago that showed that some of the sticking points for women's equality really are these very basic things at home that stop us from being able to participate equally in society. Yeah. So, you know, and then we get to around the sort of voice ideas, like, you know, calling out sexism when we see it, linking up with other women and men, you know, male supporters, to advocate changes is also very important, you know, and then just, you know, really living our right to have a voice and live freely is also really important. So, you know, it's not only a fundamental human right, gender equality, it's also a very necessary foundation for a sustainable, peaceful world. And, you know, we need that now more than ever.
Absolutely. I mean, it's true. It's not just a right, it is needed and it must be done. Susan, you have so much experience when it comes to working with women, of course, you all across the globe. But today in India, when we talk about women specifically, I mean, gender, just a very basic question. We know education is key. What are your thoughts on something as basic? Again, it's a basic right. How important is education for women?
Well, Ambika, actually, I think it's almost number one. You know, I mean, I think in the development world, for many years, it's been recognized that education, equal education for girls and boys, is really transformative. If you can get girls into school and keep them into school, then it really opens up so many opportunities for them as they grow. And in fact, you know, more educated women, and it doesn't mean tertiary educated women even, just, you know, like primary education finished, has a lasting impact on a girl's life in that it reduces the age that she's likely to have children, for instance, which opens up a whole lot of other opportunities for her. It means that she is more likely to get a job and earn income and reinvest that in her household. So with better food for children and the family, better houses actually, even to keep families healthier. So it has this kind of ripple-on effect for her, importantly, but also for her family. And it's really key to meeting the Sustainable Development Goals.
I think what you've said, that, you know, how it affects not only her, but also the family in every way, of course, I mean, personally as well, but even if she's a contributing member, not only to the family, also the economy, which when we're looking at, you know, I mean, women at the end of the day, you know, Susan, when we talk about leaving no one behind, I think women here are key. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm massively, I mean, it's so crucial. And actually, I've been trying to get people to think a little bit differently about this. Like, it's true that women form the kind often, sadly, the sort of bottom layer of vulnerability. You know, if you look at all the different intersecting things that hold people back, women are often at the bottom end of those things. So there is huge vulnerability. But on the other hand, women are 50% of the population, you know.
Yes.
We really are a force for change and a force for economic growth and for development. So, you know, I really think that it's so important to harness women's energy and unlock their barriers so that they can really help bring countries forward in their growth and development.
Absolutely, Susan. I think, you know, what we've been discussing, just going back on, you've told us the solutions, you know, we've spoken about how it affects us, the sustainability, gender biases, but just going back a little bit, the challenges, I mean, when we look at the impact on nutrition, when we look at the impact on whether it's access to menstrual hygiene, and COVID has even made things more challenging.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I think around the world, it's true, you know, that for everyone, economic development has slowed. And again, because women are often not in the most secure positions, they're often the first to lose their jobs, and they've been the last to get them back again afterwards. So, so COVID really has put a big spanner in the works. And, you know, let us hope that we can, you know, I mean, I really think with COVID too, we've had to be innovative, haven't we? You know?
Yeah. Yes,
and so I think that these innovations are going to be absolutely crucial going forward in the world that we live in now, and that women have been shown to come up with some of those innovations and also benefit from them. So let's hope that they are a part of this unlocking the barriers.
You know, just a question on the UN. I mean, y'all have also a lot of ways in which y'all are trying to get women out there. Anything you would like to share with us about anything specific what UN Women in India are doing?
Well, thank you. So yes, we are doing a range of different things, but I think one of the programs that's really sort of relevant to this conversation is the work that we're doing on the Second Chance Education program, which is really helping women who've had to leave school early for various reasons, helping them get back into school, get finished with school, and then also those who don't want to go back to school but want to be trained for employment, helping them access government programs of training.
Skills.
Yes, skilling, and also entrepreneurial strengthening, you know, strengthening of their ideas and looking at trying to get further investment in women's businesses. So, you know, and that's a partnership with the government and also with civil society. And it's a very exciting program. Just small things, you know, when I went to Odisha, I met women farmers who had been farmers their whole lives, but they hadn't been able to access some of the knowledge and tools that men had. So they hadn't been registered as farmers, and we helped them through the training and things get registered, and then they could access social support that the government had to give them, you know, basic tools and implements, and it really made their living viable. So it's just so important.
I mean, actually wonderful. You've put that, you know, really well, what the points which you've said. Just to last, another message, you know, for all, not only the women, obviously it starts from the men accepting. I mean, not only accepting, it's about inclusion. So any message you would like to give everyone on this Women's Day?
Well, firstly, that men are key to the solution for women, you know, because we are half the population, the other half are men. In all of our diversities, I'm not saying that all women or men are the same. But it's just so important for men to understand the importance for the woman themselves in being involved in all of that life has to offer. And it's important for men to support women to be able to, you know, access government schemes or live their lives in a way that is positive and healthy. So, you know, we live in relationship with men, and it is our partnership with men is crucial for both, for allowing if women can take more of the work in the public sphere, then that also allows men to have more of a role at home. And many men want to have more of that role, but they're also locked up by social norms that make it difficult for them to do that. So, we really welcome men's support and partnership in this road to equality.
Absolutely true. I think the change we see, Susan, is happening, but a lot more definitely needs to be done. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for speaking with us.
You're very welcome, Ambika. Thank you. And happy International Women's Day.